Okay, so I need to shed some light, right, on a certain subject to do with Blackmagic cameras. Talking about shedding some light, let's get some light in here going on right now. Don't fall. Right, so there's a brand new Blackmagic camera coming out. There's a few cameras coming out, I think 2 in fact, but the one that everybody's talking about is this new little box PYXIS, whatever it's called, Pixel, I can't remember what it's called right now. 6K full frame cinema camera. So there's going to be a lot of you thinking right now of selling your older generation of Blackmagic cameras or other cameras in general, and there's also going to be a lot of you guys thinking about buying a used Blackmagic camera, and that's the issue here. I kind of want to divulge and dive into to help you guys specifically, or if you already own a Blackmagic camera, I want you to check something with your camera right now. It's actually quite important because I've been given some new information about an issue that I had with my camera and it's still ongoing. That might help you guys out to make more to make that make more sense. Let me just play the short video that I put on this channel a few weeks ago while I change position. I'm sorry, I'm dressed from the gym. All right, anyway, watch this. Back on my screen right now looks pretty normal until I start to rotate the f-stops around. So let's bring it to like F11 and you'll start to notice these dots pop up on the screen. Now you're going to think 2 things here. First of all, you're going to think, wow, you got a dirty sensor. Second of all, you might be thinking, okay, you got a dodgy monitor. But look, I'm switching between 2 monitors here, the built-in one and the external one. Now I'm going to go around to the front of the camera and I'm actually going to take off my lens and speed booster. I've never taken this speed booster off this camera before, other than like, you know, an hour ago when I first noticed these dots popping up on my camera. Take the speed booster off, that thing's clean all the way through. But then when you take a look at the sensor, now you're not looking directly at the sensor. Blackmagic have this piece of glass over the front. It may look like dirt on your screen right now, but this is actually something biting and eating away at this piece of glass. So if you own a Blackmagic camera, please beware, you may have to change this. All right, so as you would have seen from that particular video, you'll see those little dots that are on my sensor. Well, not particularly on direct on the sensor, it's actually on the piece of glass in front of the sensor. Now this piece of glass in front of the sensor is to protect from UV rays and things like that. And there's kind of an issue with the glass. Now, before you say, and I know you're gonna hit me up in the comments because a lot of people seem to watch that video and seem to think that I have no knowledge on cameras, maybe because it's a short and they don't know that I've been doing this for a very, very long time, right? It's not a dirty sensor. It's not mold, it's not dust, it's nothing like that. I can run my finger across this piece of glass and I can feel indentations of growth or actual little bugs that have been biting into the glass. It is sheer actual physical holes, right? No, I have not kept my cameras in dodgy climates. No, I have not kept my cameras in dodgy conditions to do with humidity, in and out, stuff like that. They are kept in pristine conditions, right? They're always sensor cleaned. They are always kept in nice dust-proof cases, and I have silica gel packs everywhere. So let's get that out the way. This is not a user error in that form of sense. It still is a user error though, and that's what we're going to dive into today. So let's whip out the Blackmagic and show you guys. So you've seen all the dots and things on the screen. So I've got so many cameras right now, it's ridiculous. We'll dive into that another time. Let's take these wires out. So I've got my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Jesus, was that actually the real name? Yeah, you'll see my little rig here, my little camera. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a Frankenstein, granted. Okay, so as I pop this off, as you've seen already, you can't see it from here, but there is those little dots that are showing up on that piece of glass there. Why is it there? How has it happened? And why you should look out for it. Because if you're buying a used one of these, because the price will drop of these very, very soon. Come this summer, the price on these are going to drop. Right now, they're about £600. Are they £600? No, sorry, they're about £800 at the moment. I think they're probably going to drop closer to the £600, £700 mark with equipment, like with rigs and stuff like that, because nobody's transferring the rigs onto anything else, you know what I mean? But this issue is inherent to this particular model, the 4K. It doesn't really happen with the other models, and there's a reason for it. So when anybody buys the 4K, right, first thing they do 9 times out of 10 is get themselves a speed booster. Now, granted, that probably made no sense to you. It's like, why have you just showed me a lens, Charlie? Okay, they get themselves a speed booster, one of these little things here, right? And what that's gonna do is it's gonna increase the field of view of what you're seeing. So this camera now with a speed booster on it is actually showing a little bit more than a Super 35 sensor. Remember, this has a micro four thirds sensor inside of it, so Super 16 is going to show you a bit larger than Super 35, which is more of a field of view than the 6K, which came out. Now, obviously everybody wants to kind of get that closer to full frame look, so you get a speed booster on there. They're probably using full frame lenses on there, so you want to get a bit more width out your lenses, and also it adds more light to every particular lens, because what it's doing is it's grabbing that image and it's focusing it, squeezing it down into a more of a finer position on the sensor in order to display it correctly. Now that's where the problem lies, right? Took this camera away with me on holiday, and I think this is probably what happened to many people. I've took it down to the beach and stuff like that. It's nothing about anything getting inside the camera. It's nothing to do with that. The issue here is the sunlight that's hitting down onto that piece of glass in front. That piece of glass that's supposed to protect us from UV rays is what's being hurt by having a speed booster on there. So as soon as we pop a speed booster on there, it's actually increasing those elements to that piece of glass there, which apparently is kind of softening the glass. This is what I'm seeing online. I've seen, obviously granted, a lot of it's on Reddit, a lot of it is on kind of them kind of websites. It's opinion based, a lot of it, but there was this one particular guy, I can't remember his name now, but he kind of took his one out to replace it for another filter in there, and he got it tested and stuff like that. There was little weird bugs that grew in there, but apparently these bugs can only start eating glass that has become soft. And the theory here is that because the speed booster is increasing the amount of light hitting that glass, it softened it over a period of time, and then it's allowed these bugs to eat away at it. Now, why is that only inherent to the 4K and not the other cameras? Well, the 4K is the only one you'll be actually popping a speed booster on. The 6K, it's an EF mount, so it's further away. There's kind of no real speed boosters to pop on those things. Yeah, and then you've got EF mounts for a lot of the other Blackmagic cameras until now you finally get to the L mount, which is a full frame mount system. So why would you ever need to use a speed booster anyway? So I think that's why it's very inherent to the 4K, and it's something that you guys should watch out for, look out for if you're purchasing a used Blackmagic camera. It won't come like that brand new. One way to avoid it yourself is obviously don't use a speed booster, use micro four thirds lenses. And you might be thinking, oh, but if I use micro four thirds lenses, I won't get the depth of field. That is not true. It's kind of like one of those weird things that you see on the internet. It's a myth. Granted, full frame, you're gonna get more of a roll off when it comes to depth of field, but you can still get it if you get yourself a nice cinema lens. Let me just show you a quick example of a nice direct cinema lens that's a micro four thirds lens on this particular camera, and you can see the kind of images that you can get from it. It will look kind of like a full frame. Take a look at this.
Creative people can stimulate creativity in others by osmosis, by exposure. And so, as a form of creativity, also the power of psychotherapy can be learned, provided you do not pretend it is a science and that there is a specific method for learning it. It can be learned, provided you expose yourself to a therapeutic person. When you examine any substance closely, you find structure. But when your lens gets out of focus, you find substance or goo.
You know what really grinds my gears? You know when you get a new camera and you're just trying to learn it, right? You get in the log format on this camera and you're like, it's gonna look so great. You got all this dynamic range. And then when you're looking through this LUT, you're like, oh my God, everything in this image right now looks washy-wash, right? So I went about making my own correction LUT. Let me show you a few examples. Every single scene you're gonna see here, unmanipulated, untouched. So check these samples out, tell me what you think. Check it out, man. See what you think. Click the link below. Right, so there you have it. There's some footage from a direct Micro Four Thirds lens. So if you are buying one of these, please, please, please take a look at that piece of glass in front. It's not the end of the world if it is. What you can do is probably knock the price down of the unit and just say, look, I can see there that there's some issues, and they might say, oh, it's dirty. I say, right, clean it then, and then send me some new pictures back. If it's still there, then it has the problem that my camera has and a few other people have. It's not super common. Bear that in mind. It's only people that are using speed boosters and have used their cameras a lot in many different conditions, especially to do with sunlight, you know what I mean? Then it kind of seems to be those people. I've noticed the people online that have this issue tend to come from hotter countries. Yeah, I'm in the UK, but a lot of sunlight has hit this particular sensor, which I think has assisted to it. So when you are purchasing a used Blackmagic 4K, please look out for that issue. Now, before you disappear, there is a resolve for it, right? So this is it's a UV, I can't remember what the name of it's called. It's basically, it's a UV protection. Is it a UV? No, it's not a UV IR cut. It's a way of basically transmitting the light from the sun in the right color spectrum to make sure it displays properly on the sensor. If you take that particular piece of glass out, then the whole image is gonna have like a weird red wash to it, right? So it needs that to correct the image, okay, from the sunlight rays or whatever. There's science to this, you know what I mean? But yeah, you can replace it. So I've seen online, I've seen some ones on Amazon, and I've seen some ones on eBay and stuff like that. I've had to dive in and have a look at some real reviews on these things. And you can pick them up for about 60, 70 pounds and replace them, right? So that's just gonna give you a direct replacement. You can go to Blackmagic. I've heard that the Blackmagic charge you around £500. So that's gonna be what? A good $590 or something like that to replace the glass. But bear in mind, you're replacing it for the same density of glass again, which can just have the same fault. So if you're just planning to, you know, change it out, then sell the camera as a good deed to the next buyer, like I'm gonna do, that will make a lot of sense. But you can go a step further. You will notice the new Blackmagic Q camera, it doesn't just have the standard IR cut filter. It has the filter. Optical low pass filter in there. So what that's going to do is it's going to secure you for the UV rays, right? It's also going to secure you for, it's like moire, you know, when you have like your clothing and stuff like that, and it kind of has this crisscross effect on it. It's going to sort that out as well. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Not a lot of cameras, especially at that price point, have filter systems like that. It's only the bigger, you know, cinema cameras that tend to have it, which is what's going to make that camera look so super nice when it comes out. I think it's going to have an absolutely beautiful image out of it. I mean, the 6K that came out recently, the full frame, that looked beautiful as it is. So I'm looking forward to that camera. I think the size of that camera is going to make sense because this camera, it's not a gigantic camera, but the way you've got to rig it out, it ends up being bulky. And this isn't even rigged out right now. I've literally just got my SSD on the side. I've got a cage going around it, a half cage. I don't know if you can see it from Tilter. That's just going around the sides there. Then I've got a unit on top there to supply power, and then I've got my cabling systems at the side. So it's not really a big build. This is my compact kind of build. And I'm rocking obviously some vintage glass on there as well. Really nice images out of these, but I think the new camera, the way the build is set up, all you're gonna really need to do is just drop a top handle and a monitor on there. For me personally, I think it's kind of gonna be really nice like that. I'm hoping the side panels will have a place to drop the SSDs in there as well, and then we'll be good to go. So there is one other option. You can do the Chinese route and go for the cheaper route, but there is one other company out there, and I can't remember the name. I will display them on the screen right now. I'm pausing so I remember to do it. But they do charge a little bit more. I think they're a European company, and I think they charge around 300 euros, I'm gonna say that, to replace the filter inside. But that replacement filter is not just for the UV protection, it's also an optical low pass filter in there as well at a higher grade density glass. So you will be getting a similar look to those higher end cinema cameras that have those things in naturally, like the Aries and the Reds and stuff like that. That's another option. So yeah, I'm not sure where I'm gonna go because I really love this camera. I mean, if the price is dropping, I've got to sell it very soon. Otherwise, it's not worth selling it. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather hang on to it, but I prefer to kind of downsize cameras and stuff like that. So I need to get this this little filter sorted. So if there's any companies out there who want to support your boy, you know what I mean, and I could demonstrate fitting it in the camera. Oh God, what a plug. But yeah, seriously, one thing I think you guys should definitely look out for is that little thing. I know I've waffled. I waffle a lot. I've just come out the gym. I don't even know what's going on. My heart's racing like crazy. Please bear in mind, if you own a Blackmagic 4K, check if it has those issues. Please don't sell it to people with those issues. And if you are buying one, please check to see if it has kind of a different looking dirt on the sensor. That's your boy Charlie, over and out. Catch you in the next one.